Working as a corporate accountant, my next guest was hiding her true passion and purpose in life, as she coins it, in the closet. I'll tell you all about it and how she was guided by the universe to take a different path coming up. Joining me now is my guest, Allison Coe from Portland, Oregon, and she is a quantum healing hypnosis therapist. And I have been delighted to get to know her. And today, I'm sure you will be delighted as well. So Allison, you have coined yourself as an out of the closet spiritualist, and you started as an accountant. So tell me a little bit about your switch into this new trajectory.
Yeah, well, it wasn't easy at times, and it wasn't always obvious how to switch from something that's so ingrained in society. It's such a high money earner, I had a very secure job. How do I switch from being that person and earning that regular paycheck to being something that isn't even there? If you look up in the newspaper in the one ad, there's no there's no job openings for whatever I am. And so it was really putting a lot of trust in signs and synchronicities and the trail that lends itself to opening up these new avenues to follow. And so that's what it was. It was really, for me, it was all about paying attention to what was being put right in front of me each and every day, whether that was learning something new or hearing about somebody's job that may exist that I didn't know existed, or actually, finding new people that are doing what I want to do, and getting the knowledge about how they follow that path, while I was still trying to earn this paycheck and not, not tell my husband, hey, I'm out of here. I'm just going to be doing the spiritual stuff from now on. And so that was several years of doing that, of kind of planning and watching these seeds drop themselves on my path. Absolutely.
I like that you said it was a process, because I think people have this, I don't know, this notion that, okay, I want to do this, I want to get from point A to B, and I want it to be really fast. I want it just to happen like magic. I wake up and my life is different. But I think that it is a process, and it can be slow, and we can manifest things kind of like an unfolding, this manifestation of unfolding. It doesn't have to be right away.
Correct. And thank God for that unfolding, because anytime you're suddenly anything, there was this woman that I read about who wrote this book called Suddenly Psychic. And I was so desperate to be suddenly something for so many years of my life. And then when I started to think about it, I was like, oh man, she actually wrote this book because lo and behold, one day she was suddenly psychic due to a near-death experience. But what happened was, when she woke up, her whole life changed. All her relationships changed, her abilities changed. There was no integration of her new skills and abilities into her life, therefore allowing her to keep her relationships, allowing her to keep her job while she's learning this stuff, just allowing her to still live the life and slowly build into that new one. And so thank God for processes, or at least that's how I felt, because everybody around me accepted who I was, because it was such an unfoldment that they could witness, whether they wanted to witness it or not. It was usually in their face most of the time. And so I think it is beautiful when it's a process. It allows for it to integrate into your life. It allows for the sustainability of it in your life. And you get to keep those wonderful relationships that we need,
Right.
So yeah.
Let's circle back to quantum healing hypnosis therapy. So those viewers who don't know exactly what that is, take us through that path. I mean, was it Dolores Cannon, kind of like the guru of this type of therapy, who kind of lit the fire for you? How did you hear about this?
Absolutely. So she designed the quantum healing hypnosis technique, and after doing hypnosis for about 40 years and reaching this level, once she takes people down through past lives, or whatever lives she takes them through, sometimes they're past, sometimes they're present or parallel or in the future. She found that once she did that, after a while, she started reaching this higher state of consciousness from that being, which she dubbed the higher self, or or the subconscious. She didn't know that the subconscious meant something else. But yes, so when you reach that higher state, you're able to get all of this information. And so she started publishing books and going on talks, and telling people what the information was that she was getting. And so I was a witness to some of those talks that she gave, and it completely changed my life, because here was this woman doing something so fascinating that hit all of my receptor sites. All of my training up until that point was to really get me ready to be that hypnotist, to work with people and to really help them uncover what it is that they need in life, where they're going in life, and what's stopping them from getting there. So it's just beautiful. And I found her, of course, on YouTube the first time, and she kept popping up on my YouTube feed, and I kept ignoring her. I'm like, no, no, I am trying to get through my busy accounting workday. I do not want to listen to this little sweet lady, and she's going to put me right to sleep. Oh my gosh. Little did I know she was probably the most fascinating person in the history of the world. You know, she just knew something about everything that I was interested in. And so I finally listened to her after about 3 months, and she did it for me. It was very obvious through a bunch of synchronicities that this is where I needed to go. This was the pathway that was opening up to me.
So beautiful.
So, yeah.
I love how you talk about synchronicities, because I feel like when your path is kind of ready to unfold for you in a spiritual sense, books fall off the shelves, people are presented to you, opportunities are presented to you, and you're just like, what's happening? And I feel like I discovered Brian Weiss first, Many Lives, Many Masters, and then Dolores Cannon. And I would go on walks and I would listen to audible.com and listen to their books, and it was absolutely fascinating. And then I had my first QHHT session in Mill Valley here in California, and that was completely fascinating. And then you, just like you found Dolores Cannon on YouTube, I found you on YouTube. So I was, just scrolling through, and again, I think that was a synchronicity. And so I found you on YouTube, and then it was through watching your YouTube interviews that I found out about the Transformational Shift Conference in Sedona, and then that's how we met. And then I met several people that I know I was supposed to meet through you. So it's just all of those synchronicities, we need to listen to those. So I think it's so important, like you said. And then, back to the QHHT, when you have had clients talk about through their higher selves, their subconscious, their oversouls, talk about the future of our planet and the changes that we're going to go through, what's your reaction been? What types of things have you learned?
Well, I've learned I've learned several things, which is that when so many people are under this level of hypnosis, and they're all saying the same thing, that I should probably pay attention, and that some of it is symbolic. When people are saying this stuff underneath hypnosis, it can be symbolic. It doesn't always have to be literal. An event happening, a rise in consciousness happening. It can be something that they see, but it can also be something that they feel inside of them, something changing inside of them to get them prepared for these higher levels of consciousness. And so it's just this beautiful, beautiful changes that are coming to the earth and to these people, but they are the gateway for this to happen. That's what I believe. And there's stuff coming all of the time, and it is literally mind-blowing. I cannot keep track of it all. It's very difficult, but it's so fun to go back into my sessions and re-listen to it and see all those synchronicities between these sessions and see them all tie together. It's beautiful, and therefore it really gets your attention when you see these similar themes weave through your sessions like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, listening to some of your interviews where you have people from different parts of the world and they're getting very similar information, that's fascinating to me.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And lucky enough, there is a practitioners forum. So all of us practitioners talk on this forum, or some of us listen, some of us talk, but we all connect on this forum, this worldwide forum. And you'll see that these trends not only weave their way through my sessions, but they weave their way across the earth through all these other practitioners' sessions. And so it's so much bigger It's so much bigger than we even know. It's huge. People are getting this information all over the world, some through mediumship, some through hypnosis, some through their dreams. It's everywhere. It's out there. You cannot put a cap on it anymore.
Wow.
It's out. It's out.
So I remember one of the questions I asked you when we first met face to face was, because Dolores Cannon kind of has a different take on this, but she feels that once you have one QHHT session, that's kind of it. You should know for the rest of your life, you know, what you need and what to do. But my take on it was, you know, you're going to be somewhere different in your life, spiritually speaking, energetically speaking, depending on where you are in your soul growth. So to me, another QHHT session, say a few years down the road, wouldn't hurt. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think time is moving so much quicker now. What we're being exposed to, it hits us so much quicker. She could get away with giving people just one QHHT session, you know, 15 years ago or 10 years ago, because they might get so much information. It may take a full, you know, another 20 years for that information to flood through their life, and for all of these events that they were guided to change and to you know, because depending on what their session gives them, usually it's guidelines for the next couple of years, a prescription on how to live your life and your purpose. But what we're seeing is time is moving so quick that the guidance we were given even 6 to 8 or months ago or a year ago maybe isn't valid anymore. We're completely different people exposed to a different chain of events or different factors in our life or other people in our lives. So we do need those updated sessions. I know that to be the truth for me. I'm always scolded whenever I finally go back and get my own sessions. What took you so long? We needed you back here 6 months ago. Oh God, I know, it's the worst. But yeah, I think it's timely now that we get more sessions more often and reach that higher state more often, and get the guidance and the clarity as to why we're going through the things we're going through with the people that we're going through them with, and what is that preparing us for?
Right.
So we need those often.
As a practitioner, are you feeling like you are spiritually activated by giving these sessions?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel very blessed that I'm exposed to this energy. Very often I can see what they're seeing, what the clients are seeing. I can feel what it is they're feeling. It certainly doesn't happen in a vacuum, and I certainly benefit from not only the information, but the energy that comes through in these sessions. Absolutely. I feel very blessed about that. My own abilities to reach those higher states outside of a session have increased exponentially because of this constant exposure to these higher energies, this higher vibration. I could not do this job and do it well if I didn't myself raise up my vibration and rise up in my consciousness. So I would have burnt out years ago, I think.
What is your process to prepare?
To prepare for a session?
Right, to prepare for a session.
Yeah. Basically, for me, because this is my normal, almost everyday job, I don't have to do much preparation as far as, you know, that the day of, except try to, you know, look good and smell good. But throughout the week, there's much preparation that goes on just to make sure that I can handle these higher levels of energy and this higher level of where people are going and the information they're getting, and also dealing with the trauma, you know, listening to other people's trauma and problems and letting those pass through. So for me, it's very much a prescription that I follow. I have to have an excellent diet, high vibration diet, very clean diet. I have to work out regularly. If I don't, I'm not moving enough energy through. So I really do have to get out there. I either have to run, or I have to, you know, actually move, you know, build up my muscle strength. The other thing is I have to do regular meditation quite persistently. So that's the trifecta of how I can stay in these kind of higher levels. Definitely don't spend too much time with my family during the holidays.
You know, that is interesting though, the motion, you know, to move that energy through.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yes, that is something that comes through these sessions quite often, and that is that the bigger the movements, the bigger, heavier the movements are that you do, the more energy that can move through, and the quicker it moves through. So if you're sitting around and you experience some sort of trauma or loss or grief, and you're just sitting around crying, it's going to take you a much longer period to move that energy through than if you went out and went running, or if you went swimming, or if you went bicycling, you got out in nature and you started doing these much bigger movements that require more energy. You're moving stuff through much quicker. You're not able to hold on to it. So it's actually a beautiful process for people.
That is so interesting. Wow, that's so interesting. So as far as what people are seeing during your sessions, are they seeing one timeline, one potentiality, one probability? Or are they seeing something that is going to happen matter-of-factly?
You know, that's a tough one, because I think each person sees something differently. Each person sees what they need to see. So I've had clients who get a glimpse of a future that they can experience if they choose to go down that path, but it's not set in stone. Mm-hmm. And then I think some people are helping create, they're helping create that future. And some people get exact answers about, being pregnant, or, the job that's going to come, no matter what, or the relationship that's going to come. So it's different for each person, I believe, what right. The potentiality or the concreteness of it. And so to me, we have control, we have free will, Some things are going to come our way if we want them to, no matter what. But other things, our actions completely depict what we get, and our thoughts about a thing, and our energy. So we are a maker of that process, no matter what.
That makes sense. Because people who have asked me similar questions, and especially about channelers or psychics, what I often tell them, especially when it comes to the future, is at that very place and time, wherever that reading was done, that was one potentiality or one probability. But depending on your choices from there on going forward, that can all change. So
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've had a husband and wife come in, and the husband had just kind of gotten an emotional attachment to another woman outside of their marriage, and they had just dealt with it, the husband and wife. So they came in separate sessions. They each had a question about whether or not they would still be married in a couple years. Now, for the husband session, it said no. You're not going to be married for, after a couple of years. You're no longer going to be together. For the wife, it said yes. You're still going to be with your husband after a couple of years. And to me, I really had to think about that. It was up to them whether they shared their sessions with each other and kind of compared notes. And I don't think they actually did. Mm-hmm. But the reason they got such separate information is because he was pointed down a path that was going to be his free will about whether he chose to be in that relationship or not. And she had already chosen that. She kept choosing that relationship. And so it was showing her that if she kept doing what she was doing, that she was going to be married to this gentleman. If he kept doing what he was doing, they weren't going to be married. They're still married to this day, but that's very much up to him. He's choosing each time, do I want to stay? Do I want to go? And it showed him kind of the future of what it would be like if they weren't married. And so I think that for them, that was a really good thing to remain married because of their session, what it showed them in the future. So it is very interesting, where these paths are leading, and that, yes, we can switch out of them.
Absolutely. And I think besides our free will, the point that you made is other people's free will who are in our sphere of influence, because you could be doing all the things to bring about your potentiality or that particular probability, but if somebody else in our circle of influence, our spouse, our mother, father, whatever, if their free will is going, and projecting a certain trajectory, then ours could spin off in a different direction, because it has influence, direct influence into our lives because it's, we're attached somehow.
Absolutely. I see that often with people. They can't control other people, but their actions are actually going to affect the outcome of the other person's future that may have been predicted in their session. So for an example, I have an example of that. A wonderful woman had a session with me, and she was asking about her son and her grandchildren. She was afraid that her son, a very, very highly skilled doctor, was going to go back east and go to a facility back there, a famous facility, and teach over there. And in her session, it said, yes, he'll probably be doing that. So you need to start preparing for his exit and the exit of these little children from your life. That was her first session. She comes back, I think a year later, and has another session, and she asked about why her son chose to not leave. He decided to stay in the area, keep his family in the area, and why was that different than her session? And the answer that came through in her second session said that her influence and her changing how she was relating to her son and her forgiving her son, due to the information that came through the past session, she had changed her actions in her relationship with her son. And because of that, he had changed his desire to move across country and go to this other school to teach. And it completely changed her life because she changed how she was relating to him. So ultimately, it was her affecting him and him affecting her. And we always have an effect on those around us, but they also have an effect on us. And so it isn't set in stone. We can't control others necessarily, but we can, in a passive way. It's really incredible.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Oh, wow. I agree, though. We can't make those ripple effects positive or negative, on how we act and react to people, and you just never know. That's why I think a smile or a hug can go a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, you never know, but you do know. You do know that you are having this huge ripple effect, and you do know that what you should do. Most people know what they should do as far as having wonderful, good interactions with the people around them, not holding them to task all the time, and not bringing the past forward all the time, but just actually seeing them in the present moment and sending out love to them. If there's anything you should do that on the regular basis. And from that point forward, all of your interactions will be touched by that beautiful level of love and high vibration. We have such an effect on everyone around us.
Absolutely. Those who might be wondering if they should get, into QHHT or even have a session, what advice would you have for them?
It's a game changer. If it is an absolute game changer. If you're stuck in any way, shape, or form in your life, if you need clarity or guidance or relief or release from something that's holding you back, if you need to be pointed in a certain direction and you don't know which direction that is, have a session. Have a session. It is a game changer. You know that. I know that. Everybody who ever has had one knows that. It is a wonderful tool to use amongst all the other things that are out there. It is a wonderful tool to use to change your life in the best possible way and introduce you on a regular basis to these higher levels of energy that we really want you to start accessing outside of a session like this. That's the whole point, empowering the individual to access these higher energies and have conversations with them and get guidance from them without having to go, into this beautiful, relaxed state of hypnosis with someone else. Do it.
I wholeheartedly agree. Absolutely. So I had a session with Allison a few weeks back, and it was an absolute game changer, like she said. And the one thing that I love about you, Allison, is you ask such in-depth questions, such great follow-up questions. My first QHHT practitioner, good practitioner, but I felt like the follow-up questions and the specificity to her questions wasn't as robust. And you were, I'm a reporter, I'm an anchor. You are like a paranormal spiritualist anchor reporter. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna give you that title, okay?
What a compliment, man. That is a compliment and a half coming from you. Thank you so much, Jodi.
Absolutely. I mean, your questioning is fabulous. So I would love to have another conversation and dialogue with you about QHHT on another guided show. We have run out of time, and it has been so amazing to talk to you and kind of just introduce our audience to what you do and what they can do for their lives through this process. So thank you so much for sharing this time with me.
Thank you so much, Jodi. Thank you for having me. And for anybody out there, please pay attention to all of the signs around you and don't ever disregard something you're learning in the moment. It will almost always be applicable to the next thing